Night of the Living Bronies. By that big Irish Goo 23. Halloween parties are a staple in my little town. Unfortunately, so are Neckbeards. This is the story of a Halloween party where the scariest thing wasn't the decorations or the costumes. It was the Bronies. As a side, if you like My Little Pony, that's completely fine, do your thing. But don't be these guys, I'm begging ya. Release the cringe. Characters. Me. Spooky. Brony 1. Brony 2. As you are probably aware if you've read my other stories, Spooky is Neckbeard bait plain AMD simple. She's short, curvy, nerdy, goth and feisty as a sleep-deprived Wolverine. Another thing is, while we weren't dating by the traditional sense, although we both agree now that we basically were, we didn't sleep-owned or flirt with other people because, quite frankly, we didn't want anyone else but each other. Now before you say it, no, I am not trying to write a romance novel, I'm clarifying that we didn't flirt on because it's relevant later on. The night of Halloween Eve of our senior year of high school, Spooky and I decided to go to a community Halloween party thrown by the city hall. Yeah, it was probably going to be lame, but the flyer stated free food, prizes, costumes and candy galore, and Spooky and I, being as Halloween obsessed as we are, couldn't resist. We felt like the coolest things since personal pan pizza strutting up the city hall stairs dressed as the Joker, my favorite villain, and Harley Quinn, which I'm pretty sure Spooky only agreed to so she could wear her leather jester bodysuit. Which I wasn't complaining about at all. I also want to clarify this was before Suicide Squad came out and the Joker, Harley costume idea wasn't oversaturated yet. The party wasn't nearly as lame as Spooky and I thought it would be. There were amazing haunted house decorations and effects, fog, strobes, creepy audio, there were tables lined with delicious-looking food, and candy, and everyone looked like they were having a grand old time, and so were we. But naturally an adorable goth girl dressed as Harley Quinn in a skin-tight leather suit will draw out a neckbeard like shit draws flies. We first saw these two specimens inching closer to us as we were grazing at the food table, me stuffing my face with as many mozzarella sticks as I could conceivably fit in my mouth while Spooky bet I couldn't fit any more. That's when we heard the sleaziest voice I've ever heard. Brony 1: wow, your tits look fantastic in that suit, babe. Brony 2, I bet they look even better out of that suit, don't they? Followed by nasally laughter. These two weren't even in costumes, or at least I don't think they were. Both were massively overweight and unwashed looking. One was wearing a RMLP fedora, the other a pink shirt with "Friendship is Magic" bedazzled across it with a black trench coat. My mouth was still stuffed with cheese, so the only thing I could do was sputter indignantly. Spooky on the other hand. Spooky, fuck yeah, my tits look great, that's why I'm wearing this shit. You two should know all about tits seeing as yours are bigger than mine. I nearly choked on the cheese from laughing. Unfortunately the two bronies didn't seem to like that joke very much. Brony 2, that's quite the mouth on you, slut, maybe I should fill it with something. Spooky, I'm sorry, are you referring to your dick? Because I really don't have time for excavation at the moment, provided it's still there under all dem rolls. Brony 1, bet you're a sub in bed, I could tie you up if you want. Maybe whip you. Spooky, bitch, you can't even tie your own shoes. I was crying at this point. I was laughing so hard, whatever sleazy borderline rapist line the two spouted, Spooky was right there with a comeback that was making them increasingly angrier and angrier. I stepped in once I saw one begin walking forward, as if he wanted to touch Spooky, and we all know my feelings on that shit. Me, stand down Jiggles, you've been outclassed, get over it. Brony 1, who asked you, fucker, what are you, a boyfriend? You're not even worth my time, I'm trying to have words with a lady. Me, you had your words and they were pretty underwhelming. Piss off. Spooky was flicking them off at this point, a huge smile on her face. The bronies spat at us before shuffling away, glancing back at us and scowling. Spooky and I had ourselves a laugh before continuing with the festivities. Another couple hours passed, and eventually Spooky and I separated briefly so I could use the men's room. I was zipping up when out of the corner of my eye, I saw the looming shape of Brony 1, and I died a little inside. He was glaring at me, overtly blocking the exit. Me, what's up Jiggles, need something? B1, just need to keep you busy for a minute while my friend works his magic. Me, what? B1, your little whore is going to see what a real man is like by the end of the night. Me, oh my god, you two are seriously too stupid for words. Did you think you wowed her when you said she had great tits? And when you threatened to rape her? Get fucked you gelatinous twat waffle. B1, you know we go to the same school right? Your bitch has quite the reputation you know. She's super easy. Me, oh yeah, 'cause I'm going to believe someone with the social skills of a public urinal. You're about as clean as one, so I guess that makes sense. B1, talk shit all you want, but I bet my buddy's cock is balls deep in that little. My foot connected with his balls before he could finish his sentence, and as he was going down I leapfrogged over him and immediately went looking for Spooky. It didn't take me long. There was a small crowd gathered towards the back of the community center, people mumbling and chattering as B2 was being led away in handcuffs by one of the security guards. A panicked feeling welled up in my stomach as I shoved my way through the crowd, to see Spooky sitting on the floor, mascara running from tears, a female guard and a couple other people comforting her. When she saw me she practically jumped on top of me, hugging me tightly. Spooky, where were you? I was getting worried. Me, never mind that, the fuck happened? Did he touch you? Are you hurt? Spooky explained that not long after I left, B2 approached her apologizing profusely for his earlier behavior, trying to get Spooky to let her guard down. Spooky told him to fuck off, and turned to leave when B2 grabbed her and slapped her across the face, before trying to shove his tongue down her throat. A few other people saw this and immediately jumped B2, tearing him off of her and basically kicking the shit out of him until security arrived. Spooky was sobbing into my chest, and I just held her, anger and guilt fighting for dominance inside me. B1 and B2 were arrested after the actual cops arrived, and Spooky was asked to come make a statement at the station. I called her parents and asked them to meet us there after I explained the situation. My heart was breaking for Spooky. She spent the entire time clinging to my arm like I would disappear if she let go. A few hours later we were at Spooky's house, her parents letting me sleep over given the circumstances, and I spent the whole night holding her. For as strong as Spooky is, Terry's only so much someone can take. And being physically assaulted was something that took Spooky a while to recover from. But as I write this, Spooky is currently passed out in my armchair after marathoning the Nightmare on Elm Street movies for the 10,000th time and is for all intents and purposes the same Spooky she's always been and always will be.
Cross-posted from r/maliciouscompliance. Was told you guys might like this. By BoredsohereIam. Scrolling through Facebook, come across a status from a dude I used to be in the same friends group as. Quick description of him. Well, he's a cross between fedora-wearing milady guy and I got booted from the military but still wear the uniform while shit-talking them. I could deal with him before, but the military thing got to me and I've kept my distance. So he puts up a status to the effect of if you're married or engaged unfriend me now because I don't need that dumb bullshit. Idiots. Alright buddy, I get you're single and probably not happy about it, but damn seriously? Clicked on the comments, people asking why marriage made them idiots. He wouldn't respond besides saying just unfriend me. So I did, and apparently a lot of others did too. Mutual friends sent me a screenshot of his next status, something like well damn, what did I do? My friends list is super low now, along with people commenting screenshots of his last post. Original post has been deleted, and he's sending everyone friend requests. Doubt many have been accepted. Update edit, posted again saying he was drunk. People still won't re-add him. We're taking bets how long it will take until he starts yelling over no one accepting his request and freaks out again.
Naruto and the Blood Draws. By _typhoid_Mary. Hey gang. Just an update on Naruto, the Legbeard in my phlebotomy class. Gonna sum it up real quick. disrespectful as hell to our class instructor who was only trying to help, said she wanted to be a tattoo artist when she can't even properly use a needle for just under the skin, put 70% isopropyl alcohol directly on a fresh tattoo of mine, and I think got kicked out of the class. I will update after next class when I find out the tea on that. Okay, quick character list. Me, 19, lesbian-looking neckbeard bait. Fresh new Skyrim tattoo on my forearm with all the other lame Nintendo tats. I am the highest performing in my class in a clinical setting. I have never failed an arm blood draw or finger prick. Naruto, anime-ass loving girl with anime pins on her scrubs and lab jacket, so unsanitary if you think about it. Naruto-looking hair, has only ever done one arm blood draw and failed miserably. Read the last post for the details. Girls 1 and 2, the other girls in my class who are tight as fuck. Cool gals. 10/10 trust them with my arm veins. Okay, let's preface this with I gave myself a new tattoo. It's the Elder Scrolls Skyrim logo on my forearm. It's not close enough to the spot on my arm that you draw blood from that you'd need to sanitize it. It is worth noting that I have very sensitive skin. Any past tattoos that I kept covered did a weird thing where my skin would separate and the whole top layer of my skin would just come off, and it's scary as hell. And then the tattoo would just scar over and look ugly. See my mushroom tattoos limau. So, that being said, I just keep my tattoos damp with Aquaphor and stick some thin gauze over it, so my skin can breathe or air dry. Enough of that nasty skin info. I swear it's pertinent to this story. Anyways, usual happened, myself and girls 1 and 2 come into class like normal. About 15 minutes ahead of time and get our supplies ready, and go to the lab and wipe down their chairs and supply carts that we use when we practice blood draws on each other. So responsible. Very clean. Wow. Instructor comes in at the start of class. Naruto is nowhere to be seen. Not unusual. She's always late. The chapters we had to read were very short, so we started the class with a quiz on them. We have a quick 10-question review and the three of us blast through the questions. And as soon as the review is over, Naruto waltzes in. Question 10 is on the board. She signs in. She's been adding the rant times. She comes in at 8:30 and marks herself as 8 o'clock, but that's not too important. Then she says, "Is this a review?" Instructor: "Yes, we are taking a quiz on the chapters you were all supposed to read." Naruto: "Can you go over the review again? I didn't have time to read." "Oh, you had 3 days and 3 nights to read 2 short chapters on computers and peeing into cups. Really, girl, we playing this game today?" Instructor: "No." Naruto sighs loudly and complains about traffic and shit and how she's too tired to take a quiz this early. Girl 2 and I both work nights and leave work and come directly to class. She and I are exhausted and still took the quiz. Naruto really needs to count her blessings that she doesn't work nights, or work at all. Girl 2 and I both work nights in a healthcare job. Okay, dope quiz comes around. Girls 1 and 2 blow through it. We pass our quizzes in, and Naruto takes an extra 15 minutes to finish. Now I get needing extra time on a quiz for whatever reason, but needing 35 minutes for a 20-question quiz that is multiple choice is ridiculous. Okay, pass our quizzes in, teacher collects them to grade. Then Naruto talks to me. "Is that a new tattoo?" she asks from behind me. At this point, him trying to memorize the order of the blood test you draw. We had graded blood draws later that day, and I just wanted to study. But one jumped in on the train. "Yeah, what is it?" one asks. One has tattoos herself, and she knows a lot of the local places. I love talking with her about that stuff, but I knew Naruto would inject herself into the story. Whatever, I like one. I peel the gauze back and show her. "Oh, it's the Skyrim thingy. My boyfriend plays it all the time," one says. "Who did it?" "I did," I said. "It's true, I've done most of the tattoos on my body. Depending on what you consider a single tattoo, I have between 40 to 60 tattoos. I know. I've counted. I have many small guys. And I have done tattoos for other people before, but it's not a side business or anything. Wow, can you tattoo me?" Naruto said. without giving me a chance to say for $300. Yes, she says, I love Skyrim so much. What do you play as? I play as a Khajiit most of the time. Of course you play as the cat people. Of course you do, Naruto. If you're not familiar with Skyrim, Khajiit are a race of cat people. Google it if you aren't. But be careful, there is a lot of Khajiit fur porn. You have been warned. I play as a dark elf. I'm level 56 on this character. It's a true statement. I was kinda weirded out that she was talking to me like normal after she accused me of appropriating gay culture and after she stabbed through my fucking arm, but AIGHT. Khajiit are better. Where do you do tattoos? She asks. When I do give people tattoos, I bring them to my home and tattoo them in a leather chair. I can easily clean that away from all my animals, or if they have a sanitary place at their houses, I can make a house call. But I wasn't about to tell her this. I don't do them as a job really. Just a side thing. Usually just on friends to practice. Again true. I tattoo smaller things on friends and I don't charge, but I accept tips. I really do just enjoy tattooing. I charge when people message me on Insta or Facebook requesting artwork or a tattoo from me. Can you tattoo, insert some Japanese anime dude name here, on me? I have no idea who that is. I'd need to see a photo, know the size you want and where, and I'd be able to give you a price. This pig isn't my friend, but I would gladly stab her 1,000,000 times with a needle for money. Smiles. Oh, never mind, I wouldn't want to pay for it. She says. She was about to say something else but I cut her off. I knew what she was gonna say. I don't do tattoos for clout. My car doesn't run on that. This could be an r/choosing beggars story maybe. But wait, Terry's more. Okay, so Naruto looks offended, but whatever. Instructor comes in and gives us our quizzes and also has our midterm grades. I have a 94 as a grade, by the way. Smile, my mom is super proud of me. Naruto says super loudly, Mrs. Instructor, I have an issue with my grade. Instructor, we can talk about it after class. She nods and we go over the quiz. She asks a bunch of questions, so I assume she isn't doing super well. Whatever, it's no skin off my back. Okay, move along with class. Quickly read through the next 2 chapters. We were told to skim them before we came into class. It's an accelerated class, and lo and behold, we have another quiz. Mind you, we have a syllabus that is this all written out and shit, and the 3 of us good eggs found the time to do the reading and aced our second quizzes. Naruto did not. Lunch break, hallelujah. Naruto stomps off to the little lounge with the fridge and comes back with a brown paper bag with hearts drawn on and stickers. I'm assuming her mother packs her lunch. May I add that Naruto is at least a few years older than me? Whatever, I drive off to go get sushi from this relatively classy supermarket and eat it in the parking lot while I watch YouTube. It was pretty nice. Anyways, come back to class. Naruto is sitting there alone. 1 and 2 went to get Tex-Mex, so I was there alone with her. She didn't really say anything but had headphones on, and I think she was listening to nightcore versions of anime openings while she drew really crummy blocky anime girls in her notebook. Like the stuff emo girls draw on the page margins in 6th grade level skill. Out of nowhere she says, I'm going to be a tattoo artist too. I say, well, I'm not a tattoo artist. I just do it on myself because I don't want to pay $100 for each of the small tattoos I have. You're not even real tattoo artist, she said snootily. No, I'm not. I never claimed to be. Well, when I open my shop, would you work for me? Lama, what? I just said I'm not an artist. Oof, I said what we're all thinking. If you can't come to class on time, what makes you think you can run a business? And you can't even correctly stick a needle in my skin, what makes you think you can tattoo someone? She made one of those angry right girl faces. But she's gross looking in my opinion, so she just looked like a clenched butthole with orange hair. She didn't say anything after that. Okay, lunch break ends and everyone comes back. Naruto stands up and leaves. The instructor says she's going to get her physical. Now look. You need a physical to participate in the actual practices. And she's just going to get it, right fam? You do you. Anyways, we have our graded blood draws. Me and Girl 2 do really good jabs. Girl 1 hesitates and doesn't go far enough into the veins. But that's something that can be fixed. Okay, so like an hour and a half passes and then Naruto comes back. Now this is when it all goes to shit. She just walks into the lab while Girl 2 is doing her final blood draw on me. Naruto doesn't knock or anything. Just walks in and says I have my physical, and walked over to one of the practice arms. Instructor gets super cross. You need to knock before entering the lab, and you need to leave right now. We are doing graded ones right now and I can't have you distracting them. She stomps out and leaves her physical form on top of the supply cart we are working off of. Dukebo, how unsanitary that is. I have a fucking needle in my arm and she fucking leaves a paper from a disease-infested doctor's office on top of the supplies 2 is using. Instructor removes the paper quickly and replaces their supplies that were touched for us. 2 got a good grade on it, BTW lol. Okay. So we finish the draw and instructor opens the door again. 1 is sitting out there reading over the material we need to know. You know what the fuck Naruto is doing? Playing Minecraft on a Nintendo Switch. Instructor tells her to go and put it away. Naruto comes back and instructor says okay, you're very behind on your draws, so we're going to do a graded one to help catch you up. Naruto says in the most fucking disrespectful tone, I think it's unfair of you to grade me on something I've only done once. Instructor says well, that's not my fault, you didn't have your physical ready and you missed most of the last class. Again. Naruto sighs. Instructor asks for volunteers. 1 goes to the bathroom and 2 says she wants to go grab a jacket from her car. I guess this looks like a job for me. I sit down in the chair and openly express this time that I would appreciate it if she used my right arm. My left arm is still bruised and has a new tattoo on it, so no. Okay, so she ties the tourniquet on my arm and feels for the vein on my right arm. She says she can't feel it and thinks one of the other girls would be easier. Instructor says I have the easiest vein to find in the class. Naruto says the holes in my arm already are freaking her out, so she'd like to use my left arm. Legit, I don't get this. 1, 2, and I use the holes from previous punctures as guides to help find the vein easier. Why is she scared of the puncture holes? Instructor says okay, try the left arm but go below the hematoma, bruise. Naruto ties the tourniquet on my left arm, finds the vein I guess, and then goes to set up the equipment. First of all I set up my equipment before I even touch the patient. Second. She left the tourniquet on my arm. God, my blood is boiling while I'm writing this. I need blood pressure medicine, I swear to God. Okay, so the instructor leans over to release the tourniquet but I don't let her. I wanna see how long it takes Naruto to notice. Instructor and I both watch the clock for a solid 60 seconds, then she says you left the tourniquet on for longer than 60 seconds, start over. Fucking good. Okay, so. Go through the steps again. She fucks them up but not bad enough to stop the procedure again. Okay. Goes to clean the site with alcohol. Fucking. Rubs the top half of my tattoo with alcohol. Fucking stop, you're not even cleaning the site, you're wiping my fresh wound with alcohol. I see the instructor take half points. Okay. She ties the tourniquet. She unsheathes the needle. It's upside down when she's holding it. She touches the area she just cleaned with a glove. Instructor stops her and fails her. Apparently she did the exact thing with the other girls. Never even got to poke any of us. Gets super disrespectful because she is asked to leave the room while we finish our sticks. Okay, so then instructor gives us a sheet with time slots for volunteers. From outside the room we hear Naruto say, shouldn't I be listening to this too? Then she walks in and instructor explains that she isn't ready to stick anyone, let alone volunteers. Naruto goes off and starts talking over the instructor. Well, it isn't my fault that you're grading me on something I've only done once, and just goes on and on with that kind of thing. It's unfair. Instructor says it isn't anyone's fault you're behind. If you're looking for someone to blame, it's yourself. Now get out. She leaves the lab. We get out timesheets and walk out. Naruto is crying on the phone with someone saying how our instructor is racist and this is bullshit. Naruto is African American and myself and 2 are white, 1 is Korean. The 3 of us go to the room and get our stuff and sign out. We have to walk past the instructor's office and Naruto was sitting outside, sobbing, playing Minecraft. And that's how that day went. Sorry this isn't as heavily based in Neckbeard culture, but I mean, just updating on how this little Legbeard is faring. Here is the tattoo. Since some of you have asked smile, it's just the first round. I'll add more detail once the outline has healed. Again, I have very sensitive skin. I know how my body reacts to tattoos, so I'm working at the pace my skin can handle. I know it doesn't look too good right now, thanks for letting me know.
What happens when you try to make friends with a neckbeard? By idealisticbitch. The story features Era, the neckbeard, about my height, maybe an inch taller. Hygiene was good, but beard was unkempt and vaped constantly. Dionysus, the hero, professor by day, enthusiastic beer drinker by night. And myself, who I will call I am B if need be. 58, sarcastic as shit. Era and I had officially started our friendship right after the end of a horrible breakup for me. We were good as friends. We had similar tastes in music and we both painted in our spare time. We hung out a lot, although we had one drastic lifestyle difference. He was in recovery, and I liked to drink. About 2 weeks after we started hanging out, I was at a bar with some friends and he texted me asking if he had a shot with me. I was honest and told him no, that I wouldn't date anyone in recovery due to the lifestyle differences. He said he would still like to be friends. Then I downloaded Tinder, where I met Dionysus. We have the same type of lifestyle, agree on religion, politics and the more important aspects of life. Only problem was he lived 2 hours away and he worked nights, 2 on, 2 off. So we didn't see each other much for the first couple months. That's when the trouble started. After I told Era about liking Dionysus, he started insulting me as jokes that Jersey makes you look fat and shit like that, laughing and claiming it was a joke. He would try to claim large chunks of my time. Hey, do you wanna come over at noon and then paint for a while, then get dinner and watch a movie? And would make plans way too far in advance when I told him repeatedly that week to week, my plans would change, because Dionysus and I are still seeing each other. He would say things like, but Wednesday was our day, and now you're ditching me for this Tinder hoe? During this time, I was looking for a new car, and found the perfect one about 5 hours away. Dionysus was working that weekend and couldn't go, and when Era found out, he asked if I still wanted to go, and I said yes. He told me good, I just booked a room for Friday night. So we drive out there, and when we get to the hotel room, it has 1 king bed. He told me that they were out of queens cause it was short notice and I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, so I just gritted my teeth and slept on the very edge of the bed. So I buy my car, and we drive back to my hometown, but he knew I was uncomfortable, as he apologized the next day. The following weekend, I went to visit Dionysus. I went up Friday, intending to drive back Sunday. Saturday morning, we woke up early to drive to a canyon to hike. I told Era that I was hanging with Dionysus that weekend, and I wouldn't be around my phone much. Also, I was incredibly stressed because my company was doing layoffs the following week and I didn't know if I still had a job or not. So Saturday morning, Era was texting me, and I told him we're hiking at Canyon today, and I won't have any service, so till. When we came up from the canyon, I had 13 unread messages ranging from "Are you okay" to "Did you die in the canyon?" And he didn't kill you, did he? I answered with "I'm safe" and didn't answer any more texts that night. Then he texts me at 2:0a, "What are you doing, Aaron?" Another text I didn't answer. The next day, I was trying to relax and spend time with Dionysus, but Era kept texting me things like "I'm worried you think him annoying and I worry that has going to hurt you," and when I would go for long times without answering, he would send me suicide jokes and tell me that I was the only thing keeping him afloat. Finally, I respond and tell him I have too much on my plate for this today, I'm turning my phone off. He tried to call before I could get to my power button. I turned it off and called him back when I hit the road for home. I told him that I didn't like how clingy he was being and that I didn't appreciate him texting me over and over when I repeatedly told him I was busy. He told me things like you are getting into a relationship too early and crap like that. So then, he changed tactics again. Told me about all the pussy he was getting and at one point said my bedroom smells like sex, and you should come over if you don't believe me. Finally, I told him that I couldn't hang out with him anymore, and it was too much. I felt too pressured and that he was too possessive of me. He took the cue and left me alone. For a bit. He texted me that he wanted to meet with me at Starbucks to apologize. I met him there, and he said he was going to check into a treatment facility for a few weeks. Asked if I would feed his cat for $300. I told him I would, and wished him luck. I offered to give back the things he gave me. He bought new rims for his car, gave me the old tires for mine, and he wouldn't accept them. Said he had no use for them, and suggested I sell them if I didn't want them. Due to social circles, I still see him every once in a while. We make small talk about whatever, for the polite 30 seconds. I'm glad that I stood up for myself, and was honest from the get-go. But damn. I hate emotional manipulation. Oh. And Dionysus and I are getting married in 2 weeks. Smile. Edit fixed grammar.
Tales of the Beard, Mo and the Encounter of the Beastly Beardo by Mate 11. Well guys, I hoped I would never have to post anything here. I have been a member of this subreddit for a while and I love the stories here. I just didn't think they would happen. I believed neckbeards to be an endangered species, but today I was proven wrong. In fact, this happened yesterday. But anyway, allow me to introduce the cast for our grand tale. Mo, me, 17-year-old high school senior. I'm pretty gawky, and I have the body type of teenage Groot. Everybody calls me Mo because when my baby brother was born, he couldn't pronounce bro, so he said that instead and it kinda stuck. I'm 58, this comes into play later. Nilla, 16-year-old high school junior. My lovely girlfriend. Smells like vanilla, hence the nickname and our shared fondness of Nilla wafer cookies. She's Thai American, so that's enough to be considered beard bait. However, she was adopted from Thailand, so she doesn't speak a word of Thai nor has she been to back Thailand since her adoption. Super affectionate, comes into play later too. 5, 4. FM, Fat Molded, our beard of the story. The name is from Resident Evil 7, in which the enemies are called the Molded and there is a fat, vomiting, gross variant of said enemy. FM is about the same, however add a fedora to the mix and you'll be spot on. Also Earl, my name is Ethan and the main character in RE7 is named Ethan Winters. No, my last name is not Winters. FM is the same age as Nilla. FM smells like fermented herring dipped in shit, has skin that reminds me of the surface of the moon, and has the same mentality of your average beard. Wears gross, old hiking boots, I'm a sneakerhead, band tees, and a lice-ridden fedora. Has the typical neck beard, and looks like a crusty walking pear. Has also like 6'2". A tall boy indeed. For reference, Nilla and FM go to the same school, but I go somewhere else. This will also help the story make sense for this and future posts. Anyway, here's our story. So Nilla and I went to the mall tonight for a date night. Everything was going great. We were walking around, holding hands and being a couple of dumb kids in love. Eventually, we found ourselves at the Apple store. Nilla wanted to go there because she wanted to buy some AirPods. I recently got a pair and love them, and as such I recommended them to her. So we go in and she begins to look for them. Now one thing about Nilla, is that she is a fiend for coffee. It's the equivalent of nicotine for her. So she turns to me and in her I want something pretty please voice asks, can you get me a small caramel macchiato please? Well, when you ask like that you'll never hear no. And the Starbucks is right across the store. I told her I'd pay after she brings out her wallet. I'm met with a new woo and a peck on the cheek and I embark on my quest. I'm standing in line at the Starbucks when, BZZ it's a text from Nilla reading please come back to the store. The 3 dots transform into forget the coffee, please just come back please. I look over, and I can't see her. Now if you've seen an Apple store, you'll know that A, they're usually very crowded, and B, the front is a big window so you can see into the whole store. Worried, I step out of line and go back to the store. I initially didn't see her, because she was being cornered by him. The almighty, the rancid, the greasy fedora-wearing creature of magnificently putrid proportion, FM. The look on Nilla's face was of sheer terror, nausea from the smell, and anxiety. As I come into her view, she gasps and practically flies to my side. Now Beardo doesn't like that. Not one bit. He rotates his exposed, hairy gut and approaches me. Now this dude is taller than me. As he tips the Richter scale with each waddle, his odor wraps itself around me body. It weaves itself around my legs, wraps itself around my upper body, and snakes its way up to my nostrils. I thought someone had gotten sick on the floor of the store. But nope, it was his body odor. I have to look up at him to actually look at his face, but he breathes so heavily out his nose, I am forced to stare at his grungy, stained t-shirt. To my surprise, in a voice several octaves higher than my own, he asks, Nilla, who is this? Oh sorry FM, I never introduced you to my boyfriend. FM this Mo FM. She sticks her right hand in my right back pocket / FM visibly enraged by this display of affection / Nilla, you shouldn't be touching someone in such a crude manner in public. Why, someone would believe you to be a, pause / loosey-goosey. And besides, he looks like a bit of a, ruffian. A woman of your grace should know better. He probably doesn't even really care about you. Well, nice to meet you too, lardass. Now I'm restraining myself from sticking one of my NMDs up his ass, and Nilla knows it. With her left hand, grabs my wrist, stroking it lightly with her thumb. Before she responds, I chime in, good to meet you too FM. So how do you know each other? Now, I had an idea to push the envelope with this dude. But that will happen in a minute, so bear with me. FM, me and Nilla go way back. Isn't that right, sweetheart? Both me and Nilla cringe / why we're the best of friends, inseparable. It all started back in geography in 8th grade when we became friends over a project we chose to do together. FM we had to work together. I already had a partner, but the teacher made you be with us because you were alone. She was sick for the presentation, so we presented me and you. If I remember, you just sat there playing 2048 while we did all the work. Tubbo obviously deflects the truth and begins to ramble on about some weird, necky shit. But this is where I push it. I whisper to Nilla, follow my lead, and make it visible to him. I begin to lower my hand towards her left back pocket. FM's eyes practically burst out of his skull, and his mouth gapes open, exposing us to his mustard gas breath. I'm no dentist, but I swear I could see about 7 cavities. FM, what do you think you're doing? Noises that sound like a feral ghoul from Fallout ring / dude, what is your deal? He's my boyfriend. We're a couple, so we show affection. It's what you do when you're dating someone. FM, I would think not. That is practically rape, Nilla. How dare you? Remove your hand or I will. He tries to puff his chest up, but the cholesterol in his heart prevents him from doing so without completely clogging his valves. I had had enough of the fuck. Okay, big ass, mind your own fucking business. I remove my hand from Nilla's back pocket and wrap it around her waist. Come on babe, we're going. We begin to speed out. From behind we can hear sputtering and gasping and wheezing. This fat fucker couldn't even turn around quickly without completely winding himself. He tries to yell something at us but is too out of breath to speak. So on the way home, she explains to me that what she said about 8th grade was true, and that ever since then he had stalked her from a distance. He acted like she was completely oblivious to it, but she was well aware, and didn't think she needed to tell me because he never really posed a threat to her other than the occasional stare in the hallway during passing period. Also, I couldn't be there to do anything, so there was that too. But now, he was hungry for Chad meat. After all, Milady was being raped by a thin Chad that obviously treated her like a sex object. We decided to watch a movie and cuddle under a blanket. She felt really bad that our date night had been ruined, since that he came to her, she felt like it was her fault. So I used my secret weapon to cheer her up. I made us green cup pumpkin spice coffee with Nilla wafers. She practically cries tears of joy at the gesture of love, and we share probably the best kiss I've ever had. We cozy up. But just as we did so, Nilla got a notification from Instagram. "Oh fuck," she says. Lo and behold, there was FM, moving into Milady's DMs with a meme. We look at each other, and knew that this was simply the beginning. Stay tuned for the next episode. Smile. Depending on how this episode goes, I'll ask Nilla to tell me the origins of FM. Beard Fleck ruins a date because Milady was being sexually assaulted. Then proceeds to slide into her DMs.
I've stalked your work, why won't you date me? By Muse_Papillion. Hey guys, so obviously long time lurker, first time poster blah blah blah. Story. Be me, 23, 270 pounds, apparently am seen as gasp attractive by some, even though, let's be honest, am mediocre looking at best and obviously fat. At the time, working at Dream Retail job, where we sell pop culture and band stuff. Was the only female in college film program, didn't do too bad, but am no Del Toro as much as I wanna be. Maybe BBF, 35, 6 ginger from the UK. At the time of the story, he was going to visit me for the first time in March, as a sort of trial period to see how we got along in each other's physical company. This is not the same period he was here when we encountered a Walmart ham. Don't be dropout, 20s, 56-ish, 300 pounds even, fupa out to here, growing his hair out as well as his face pubes. Constantly wears bomber jacket, trilby top hat combo, goggles, and Pokemon fingerless gloves. Actually was a classmate of mine in said film program, till he dropped out. Not like it was a hard degree. He just stopped coming to class. Had a complex that working with a woman was beneath him, and did everything to not work with me on any projects. And I mean, absolutely refused to. So this started after I graduated, and spring was around the corner except in the Midwest, February is still technically the middle of winter. I'm working the usual shift when in came the main character of our story, Dropout, who I haven't since October. I greeted him with my generic "Hi, welcome to Alternative Store, please buy our stuff" line when I recognize him. I said hi and asked him what happened in college. Dropout, yeah, I just didn't wanna come to class. It was kinda dumb anyways, seeing as I knew a lot of the stuff instructor was teaching. I mean, he wanted to know how to make movies and how to make it big. Not theories, he can learn that on my own time. I wanted to know how to make good movies like The Cell, or self-aware movies like Barbed Wire. Me, amok? So was there something you were shopping for today? Dropout, just browsing. You look better from the last time I saw you. Have you been dieting? Granted, yeah, I was at my heaviest right at graduation. Wasn't making too much money at the time, so didn't quite have much money for food. Lost a bit of weight but not much, just cut back on the salt. He skimmed around and didn't buy anything. He proceeded to come in at least once a day, just to shop around, buy maybe 1 or 2 small items or none at all, and just creepily stare. Had come in and ask is op working today? And of course my manager would always tell him I can't say. He came in one day, totally ignoring my manager and beeline to me as I was ringing up a customer. Dropout, hey, could you help me with something? Me, sorry, I'm with a customer at the moment. If you'd like, I can ask manager if he could. Dropout, no, I want you to help me. Me, alright. Gimme a second. To other customer, here you go, thank you. Have a good day. Alright, so what can I help you find? Dropout, I seem to not be able to find a date tonight to go watch Deadpool with, and was wondering if you knew anyone? I'm too beta and was on the clock, so customer service mode prevented me from outright telling him why I actually didn't wanna go. Even to this day, I've yet to see Deadpool. Please don't kill me, I'm sure it's funny as they say. He kept asking in different ways with different persuasions, I'll pay for it, like a good date should, live a little, I'll make it worth it, you get the picture. Manager finally came over and asked if he needs anything. Dropout said no, and sulked away. I didn't see him for about a week. One day, after not seeing him for some time, he came back, this time with a task at hand. Dropout, will you please go out with me? You're the only one I can properly watch movies and discuss them with. I used to love how you'd debate with instructor about how dumb feminist movies were. You got me. I didn't. Yeah, our instructor was a feminist, and sometimes I didn't agree with what he said, please no flame, but I never told him he was dumb or his ideas/debates were dumb. Just that I didn't agree on certain things. Me, look, I can't talk personal matters with customers, so if you wanna wait till after my shift, and meet me at Lyceth Barnes and Noble or something, I can tell you then. He ran his tongue over his teeth, nodding. Dropout, alright, see ya then. So keeping my promise, I met him in BN. More like, I waited for him in the manga section. Gotta get me that next issue of Monster Musume. He showed up finally. Dropout, so Han, did you wanna go on our date? Me, I never agreed to a date, I just said to meet me here so I can discuss. I can't go on a date with you because I'm kinda seeing someone, and it looks serious. Dropout, when did this happen? You mean to tell me I spend all that time and money visiting you, and you won't even give me that time of day? Me, I didn't know you were even interested. I'm not a mind reader, you have to tell me blatantly and to my face what you want. Otherwise I won't know. Dropout, why do you think I kept visiting? We argued back and forth about how I couldn't tell he was giving me signs and how I was letting him on by being so nice to him, even though he was the same with everyone else in the store. Me, I told you, I don't wanna go out with you. Dropout, are you his girlfriend? Me, what does that have to do with? Dropout, are you two a thing? Because if you're not, Terry's still time for you to change your mind. Please, just let me show you. Me, just because we may or may not be official doesn't mean I'm still available. I told you, we're being exclusive. Dropout, just give me a chance. It's the least you can do for all the time I've wasted on you. Me, no, and this discussion is over. Good day. So BF finally visits, and I wanted to show him where I worked. I came in, and introduced him the crew. We walked around and wouldn't you know out on his daily visit, in came Dropout. He called over to me and froze when he saw BF. Dropout, so this is your boyfriend of the week? Me, no, and if you're gonna be like that, then piss off. Dropout, so what's this guy have that I don't? You and I are closer in age from the looks of it, you and I know each other probably more than he does, and I'm more mature for our age that he probably is now. Me, dude, fuck off. I'm not having it. I'm seeing someone, you weren't clear in your intentions, and you blew it. First come, first served. Dropout, so when do you think he's gonna be done with ya? I mean give it a week, he'll come back in a week. BF is beta, and couldn't say anything. Me, look cunt nugget, if you were so into me back in class sweet, didn't you make a move then? Or say anything? Hell, you refused to work with me on a project last I recalled, and I didn't even do anything to piss you off. So either tell me why or just fuck off already. Dropout glared at me. Dropout, just wait when he's done with ya, then what? See if I care. Facebook me in a week. I didn't. BF and I walked around the mall some more, spend the next 3 weeks getting to properly experience each other, and during that time, concluded that we were head over heels for each other. During that time, Dropout would constantly message me on FB with hey, 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 how are ya? How's it going? You free? Can I ask you something? Hey, hey, hey. and his Facebook timeline is just full of pretentious movie reviews on popular films and why they suck, as well as dissing certain styles of filming, especially found footage. He would comment on my posts with painfully passive-aggressive comments till not only I but my friends had enough of him just being an ass. Finally, just unfriended him. Needless to say, I don't talk to him at all anymore. TL, Dr. Neckbeard classmate apparently liked me, stalked me at work, then got pissy when I didn't interpret said stalking as a sign of interest.
Neckbeards out clubbing find Milady and get caught in a lie. By BeastlyRohan. So this is my first encounter with a neckbeard that I have posted, so hopefully the format is good. Kinda long though. People. Me, 22, apparently a jock according to the Neckbeards, medical student, relevant to story. KY, 25, petite and cute, and really not the person I would think neckbeards would try to hit on, not into anime/games/ etc. We've been casually dating for a little while. The Neckbeards. AJ, 22 to 25, the shorter of the two, only rocking an Iron Man t-shirt that evidences his neckbeardedness by association with Tool. Tool, 25 to 27, probably the most typical neckbeard you'll ever meet. Long hair, fedora, and a very nice silk shirt in a pattern that really brings out his decent-sized gut. Our friends Mark, 23, and Jane, 24, long-time couple that recently ended it, but are still good friends, have been trying to set me and KY up. The story. So here we all are sitting at this bar/club. Not the best bar in the world, but they have a decent amount of beers and the girls like the dance floor. Now both me and Mark are used to guys, Guido types, trying to get at the girls, but not tonight. No, there was someone much more special in store. At this point KY has done a few shots, and is getting to be pretty buzzed. The same goes for Jane. These two guys stroll in and take a seat at the bar. Pretty much as classic as a classic Neckbeards comes. One is rocking some thick framed glasses, and his super sick Iron Man t-shirt, we'll call him AJ. The other is much more classy, rocking a silky button down along with his trademark fedora. This is Tool. From how the bartender greeted them, I assume they are regulars. Now there are not that many people in the bar/club tonight as it's a Wednesday, but I think the regulars just come to hit on whatever ladies they may find there that night. Immediately after receiving their drinks, Tool begins staring down my table, and motions to AJ. This I assume meant target acquired. Maybe 10 minutes into this staring, wobble comes on. Now I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy the wobble and it's enough to get us all out on the dance floor. The wobble ends and the girls stay out dancing, as Mark and I head to the bar to get them and us more drinks. The Neckbeards see their chance to impress Milady with their dancing skills. I see them bolt across the room and head to the dance floor. This is from what KY and Jane told us. They came onto the dance floor and started slowly moving their way toward us. AJ starts doing something similar to the robot, but on his knees while spinning around, clearly trying to impress Lady Jane. Tool, however, clearly knows how to get Milady and head straight to KY's rear. At this point he grabs her waist and starts grinding. Does it still count if it's his belly? The second this happens she freaks out and Jane is somehow able to get her away without causing a scene by dancing with KY. The song ends and they decide it might be better not to be on the dance floor with these two anymore. Once KY and Jane get back to their table, AJ and Tool follow close behind and take our seats. Bartender is really slow, Now AJ is much tamer than Tool, and Jane is actually pretty nerdy herself, so they apparently start having a somewhat normal conversation. Tool, however, well, this is the convo that KY was telling me about. Tool, wow, that was fun. I never get to dance with such a beautiful lady. I've never seen you before here. KY, yeah, we don't really come here that often. Tool, oh yeah, we? You mean your friend and you? KY, well, those guys at the bar are with us too. Tool, babe, those guys are nothing. What do you do? KY, I'm a teacher. Tool, exactly, babe, you deserve a better life. Teachers make what, like 30K a year? I'm going to be a doctor. I'm already in med school, so once I get out I'll be making millions and then you have the life a lady desires. KY, at this point creep the hell out. Oh, that's. At this point alcohol has been obtained and Mark and I return to the table. Mark being very blunt to AJ, dude, you're in my chair, and AJ runs along. Tool, however, doesn't seem to take the hint. Me, sorry brother, that's my seat. Tool, That's cool, I've said what I need to say. At this point he stands up and motions to KY, who is confused. Tool, come milady, actually said it, we must ride on into a better life. Me, the fuke dude, I can tell by her face she does not want anything to do with you. Tool, I'm not talking to you stupid loser jock. She needs a man that can treat her the right way and provide her the things she needs. I'm a future doctor and will give her the world. At this point I'm almost 100% sure he is not, as our school is pretty small, 100 per class, and this dude does not smell like he would be allowed to see patients on his current regimen of showering once a week. Me, oh really? Dude, you are? Me too. What year are you? Tool, I'm a second year. Me, bursting out laughing, you're not dude, I'm a second year. Just leave man, she's not interested. Tool starts walking away with his friend in tow back to the bar. Just when I think it's all over, he turns and says, "Milady, just think what you could have had. I'm sure there were Facebook statuses about sluts that only hook up with assholes that night."
Local Neckbeard lands substitute teaching job, Hilarity ensues by FearlessIntention. This is a tale of the late 90s early 2000s equivalent of a neckbeard, whatever that may be. Our 8th grade history teacher was on maternity leave, and told us that this was her last week and next week we would have a sub. All she knew was that the sub was fresh out of college. The next week, the front of our room is occupied by a corpulent man sporting a trench coat over his plaid button-down and basketball shorts. As our school had a dress code, this was somewhat surprising, for that day, class continued as usual. We were instructed by Mr. Chesterton, not his real name, but it fits, in the finer points of the Battle of Shiloh, interrupted only by Chesterton belching a few times and some dumbass throwing a pencil at the trilby hat on the coat hook. The next day, Mr. Chesterton announced that he did not feel that the Civil War was important, and proceeded to spend a few days discussing Nazi Germany for no reason in particular. After a few days of ridicule he ditched the trench coat, but the shirt and shorts stayed. He wore the same shirt/shorts multiple days in a row, and their appearance led some to believe that they doubled as sleepwear. 2 weeks into his tenure, Mr. Chesterton's attention was consumed by the foul beast known as Final Fantasy IX. One Monday Chesterton was seen bringing a PS1 into the classroom and hooking it up to his computer monitor. He gave us a study hall and spent the class playing Final Fantasy. He got told off by admin that afternoon after somebody complained, and the next morning he grumpily resumed his history of the Third Reich. A few people expressed concern that the impromptu German history lesson was lasting so long, and the plump Chesterton responded eloquently, "I don't know jack shit about the Civil War, and I'm not about to go doing some reading. I majored in physical education." He sure didn't look the part. We spent the rest of Mr. Chesterton's time learning more World War II history, and Mr. Chesterton spent most of his time attempting to make eye contact with some girls. One day a student, basically a late 90s Chad, who cared little for anything other than hockey and girls, threatened to put your lights out, fatso, and Mr. Chesterton brought a gun to school the next day. He said he had better ones at home. This didn't surprise many of us, as Mr. Chesterton was often seen to use a Swiss Army knife to open his microwave popcorn during free periods. On his last day, he made everyone popcorn and put on some crappy movie while he did something on a bright yellow Game Boy and stared hungrily at the girl closest to him. During his time at the school, Chesterton had garnered a reputation as something of a creep, and a few students claimed that he spent his free periods viewing pornography on his school-issued Apple computer. He left us that day with a tip of his hat and a reminder to pursue academic success, as I have. The next day our regular teacher came in and gave us a Civil War quiz. When that went predictably bad, we regaled her with tales of Mr. Chesterton's fascination with fascist Germany and young girls. Mr. Chesterton, who was scheduled to stay on as a sub and teach P in the interim, was promptly removed from the school. The last anyone saw of him was his obese figure hunched over his Honda trying to get it to start and cursing wildly.
Why I stopped going to Games Workshop by Internet Mexican. I sorta mentioned this in a comment to another story here. Back when I was a senior in high school in 2007, I walked across a store called Games Workshop. They sell a few tabletop games, including Warhammer 40k. I remember being really impressed with the models, so my friends and I decided to walk into the store and check it out. We walked around the store. The guy that showed us around was really cool, a kind of Neckbeardy in appearance, but definitely not in behavior. He let us paint a sample Space Marine, and boy was I fucking hooked. As I walked around the store I noticed a group of people with some pretty massive armies playing a game of Apocalypse, I think, 40k supplement if I recall. Their ages ranged from 13 to 45 or 50, my friends and I stopped to watch a little while. I don't recall exactly what was happening, but I do remember that the kid, 13 or 12, was playing Chaos Space Marines, and had just destroyed the oldest guys, 45 or 50, Rhino, an armored personnel carrier unit. Old guy lost his shit talking about you're not even in fucking range, to which he was too that the kid's gun was in range. That's fucking bullshit. Old guy was losing it until the cool guy that had helped us came by and was like, old guy, you need to calm down, if I have to tell you again you're gonna have to leave. Old guy then packed his shit and left anyway. We were fucking stunned. Anyway, due to the cost of this fucking game I didn't actually get any models until later in 2008 when Assault on Black Reach came out. My dad bought it for me for my birthday and I was fucking stoked. I couldn't care less for the orcs that came with the set, so I built them and put them away. Still have them, but I really loved my Space Marines and decided I wanted to build that army up instead. I started painting my guys as Ultramarines and was deep into the lore and the game. One day I walked back into the San Jose store to buy some paint. My girlfriend came with me because she wanted to check out the other models. She saw how deep I was into it and wanted to check it out. So my girl and I walk into the store. I grab the paint, but before I pay for it we decide to look through the armies. So these guys are Chaos Space Marines, they are basically traitors, these are orcs. I get cut off as the store manager literally walks in front of me, blocks me while facing my girlfriend and is like, "SM, so you thinking of starting some 40k? Not many girls in the hobby. Anything catch your eye?" GF, ooh, I was just looking, my boyfriend plays. Yeah, I was just showing her the armies. At that point I walked around him to go stand next to my girl. He shot me a dirty look as if though I had interrupted their conversation. Ignores me and keeps talking to my girlfriend. SM, well, there are plenty of armies that a lovely lady such as yourself might enjoy, such as the Sisters of Battle. They are an all-female army. If you want I could teach you how to play if you're interested. GF, no, it's okay, I was just looking. Besides I have a few orcs I could teach her with those. He shoots me another angry look and finally asks, SM, what do you play again? Space Marines. I painted them as Ultramarines though since that's what they were on the box. He chuckles and shakes his fucking head. SM, just Space Marines? You must be new to this then. Who? Well, I mean, kinda, but I actually like Space Marines. All of a sudden these two other douchebags playing nearby decide to chip in. DB1, Space Marines are such a noob army, considering ever moving up to anything actually worth playing? I'll stick with Space Marines since I already have them, and these things are kind of pricey. I don't want to start over. Douche 2 points at my World of Warcraft t-shirt. DB2, but you'll play WoW, chuckles, that shit is way more of a waste of money. If you think it's cheaper you're obviously not great with money. At this point I'm like, what the fuck is going on today? My girlfriend is tugging my shirt, and the store manager has just grabbed my wife's arm to walk her towards the game tables like, come in a quick game, I'll show you how to play. My girl looks at me like, WTF. I put the paint down. SM, here you can play Tyrannid, and since your little boyfriend likes Space Marines so much he can play them, I'll show you how to play. We were pretty annoyed at that point so I just grabbed her hand and said no thanks, we have other things to do, and we left. From that day on until last year I never went back to Games Workshop. I just ordered my models online. I only ended up going back because I got my supervisor from work into 40k. This time though we were at a different store with much better employees, and a way better community.
How to Cope When You're Single White Femaled by a Legbeard by lulusreddit. Despite the title, I was neither single nor white, but when I was 15 I babysat for a neighbor family and became the obsession of their Legbeard daughter. This is my story. Cast list. Me, Lulu, 15 at the time. Cool Asian. Beauty enthusiast, relevant. Jane, our star Legbeard, 16-17? Tall, chubby, self-conscious about it. Mia, my fellow babysitter. Super chill girl. Sissy, Jane's younger half-sister. The girl we were hired to babysit. Future beauty queen in the making. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, my employers. Mrs. Smith is actually Jane's stepmom, super sweet and a genuine babe, but Jane hates her guts. Even though we were neighbors and grew up in the same neighborhood, I didn't really get to know Jane until I was hired to babysit Sissy. Private school versus public school, you know the drill. According to the suburban housewife grapevine, Jane hated Mrs. Smith for being a homewrecker. Not true, her parents were split up for years before Mr. and Mrs. Smith even started dating, and refused to look after her younger half-sister who she also hated. Enter me, Lil Lulu, looking for a summer job to fund my clothes hoarding. Because of her parents' work functions, Sissy was home alone for most nights during that summer. Jane didn't want anything to do with her, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith hired Mia and me to babysit. We worked out a schedule where we would switch off for 3 nights of watching Sissy so that we could still hang out with friends, etc. Neither of us saw Jane for the first 2 or so weeks, and Sissy never talked about her, so we thought she was maybe at camp or something. Turns out she spent that whole time locked up in her room watching TV. I walked right into a huge argument between her and Mr. Smith, and he used me as an example and told Jane to go get a summer job. I think this was where her obsession began. After that, Jane would always be hovering in the background whenever it was my turn to babysit. She and Sissy ignored the crap out of each other, they would only talk to me, and it made me feel awkward as fuck. I later found out that when Sissy was a toddler, Jane accidentally shoved her down the stairs, giving her a concussion and dislocating her shoulder. Jane was a self-proclaimed history buff, but the only thing she knew about history was whatever the plot of Showtime's The Tudors was. Her favorite character was Jane Seymour, hence her pseudonym, and she absolutely hated Anne Boleyn for being a homewrecker. Sound familiar? She would use insults directed at that character on Mrs. Smith, including calling her concubine, harlot, and shit like that. She talked non-stop about that show and how hot Henry VIII was. I made the mistake of saying that the actor wasn't my cup of tea, and she dumped a glass of lemonade on my head. One night during Mia's turn to babysit, she called me saying she was running late and asked me to fill in until she could get there. I was getting ready for a date, so I brought my stuff with me and let Sissy play with my makeup while we waited. Now Jane was your average teenage girl with braces and acne. She was really self-conscious about her looks and anti-any and all makeup and skincare. I honestly feel like it's because both Mrs. Smith and Sissy are naturally really pretty and makeup makes them look even better. Jane comes downstairs and this happens. Jane, yelling, "Wow, really? You're such a bad influence. What the hell do you think you're doing pushing your crap on my sister?" Me, what? Sissy, leave Lulu alone, she's getting ready for her date. Jane, stomps her foot, "Oh, of course she is. You're such a whore, take your shit and go home. Don't infect my sister with your sluttiness." Me, seriously, what is your problem? You won't even babysit your own sister, and now you're what? Trying to protect her innocence from makeup? Get over yourself. Jane lunges at me and somehow attacks me with her elbows. I'm still holding up my lip gloss wand, which ends up jabbing me hard enough to split my bottom lip. I start bleeding all over the place. Sissy and Jane are freaking out. Sissy, call 911. Call 911. Jane, no, I'm not calling the cops on myself. Sissy, no, you stupid bully, call an ambulance. The next couple hours were kind of blurry. All I could focus on was the blood coming out of my face. Mr. and Mrs. Smith begged my parents not to press charges, but they did anyway. Jane ended up having to do community service hours, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith were shunned by the neighbors for a while. I felt bad that Mr. and Mrs. Smith were suffering because of Jane. Mrs. Smith was already being treated bad enough by her at home. Sissy said that Jane would also trash talk Mrs. Smith for her clothes and makeup. I thought that if I continued to babysit for them, then maybe the neighbors would see that it wasn't their fault. So after talking with my parents, they agreed to let me keep babysitting as long as Mr. and Mrs. Smith made sure that Jane would never be in the same room as me. On my first night back on the job, Jane locked herself in her room and blasted loud-ass medieval music. Mia came with me to make sure I was okay, so the three of us in the living room were having a little girls' night. Sissy goes upstairs to get some stuff for a makeover, and a second later the medieval music stops. We hear talking, and then Jane starts screaming about how Sissy's gonna grow up like her harlot mother. Mia runs upstairs and Jane retreats. The kid is made of iron though, comes back all smiling and shit. She gets a kick out of pissing Jane off. The guy I was seeing at the time, on again off again high school thing, came by to check in on me. Now the rule was that Mia and I weren't allowed to have friends come in the house while we were babysitting. So we were out in the front yard when he goes, creepy chicks staring at us from the window. I turn around and sure enough, catch Jane trying to duck away. My guy leaves, I go back inside. Jane corners me asking a billion questions about him. How old is he? What school does he go to? Is he my boyfriend? Mia comes to my rescue and reminds Jane that she can't be in the same room as me. Jane leaves. The rest of the night goes fine. A couple days later, my guy tells me that the creepy chick tried to add him on Facebook. He rejected her friend request and she started sending him messages saying she knew that I was keeping him from being friends with her, that they could be secret friends and he didn't have to tell me about it. Pages of abuse, shitting on me about how I'm a whore and he deserves a good girlfriend who won't cheat on him, which obviously I'm doing because I like wearing makeup. Keep in mind this is after she saw him once, from her second-story window, while creeping on us. She somehow tracked him down without knowing his name, probably through my Facebook, so she could ruin my relationship? And then she tried to become my clone. She dyed her hair to match me, bought the same clothes I wore, which looked ridiculous because I'm small-boned and she was twice my size, so things that looked good on me didn't necessarily flatter her. But the thing is, I went through a lot of style phases during that time. It changed from prep to punk in like 2.5 weeks, which was the reason I got a job, to help support my clothing addiction. Most of the stuff I got from older cousins who outgrew them, and my babysitting money went to buying accessories. Jane though would bully Mrs. Smith for money, buy an entire wardrobe of clothes and wear them a couple times around me, but not in the same room lol, before having to ditch them because I had adopted another style. She kept this up until Mr. Smith cut her off, and then she confronted me in my own driveway. Jane, who the fuck do you think you are? You think you're better than me, you stupid slut? You don't know anything. I'm smart and cultured, you're just a chink bitch. Me, you need to stay the fuck away from me. She's pissed as fuck but can't do anything because my dad's car pulls up. Jane was loud as usual and my dad heard everything. He calls Mr. Smith to come pick up his trash daughter and makes me go inside. My parents make me stop babysitting for the rest of the summer. I later found out from Mia that Mrs. Smith finally had enough of Jane's attitude and Jane couldn't deal with not being able to push her around. She was sent to live with her mom.
Jacket by deleted. So I've been reading Neckbeard stories for a while and finally decided I'd share mine. Sorry if I'm unable to remember everything, mainly because this happened a few years ago. So, characters. Your narrator. At the time I was 14 to 15. A bit heavier set, not fat, just a bit of fluff, brown hair / hazel-eyed, and about 5 feet 1 inch at that time. I was basic Neckbeard bait. I loved anime, drew / wrote fanfiction, and while I've never played video games, knew the plots and characters to many thanks to ye older brother. I was even a bit cringy because I had a husbando. Yeah, it hurts me just to admit it. Z, a boy in the class that I had a crush on. Okay looking, was pretty funny. Always wore a pleather jacket. V, my best friend who'd come with me from middle school. Sat with me at lunch. Isn't a big player here. Drac, our lovely class Neckbeard. Had a weird fascination with the macabre/vampires but also loved anime and all the usual Neckbeard fascinations. About 5 feet 6 inches, a bit heavier set with long frizzy hair, and a general wardrobe that fit the bill. So this was in math, the bane of my existence. Our room was set up really odd for a high school. Unlike in normal rooms where there were just desks in a row, this room was more like a lecture hall at a university, having the seats in rows that got higher as you went further into the room. I sat in the second row, 3 seats in. The first few days of class I didn't really talk to anyone. The only highlight of the class was it was third period, our lunch period. This meant at some point during the class I got to leave to go see my best friend. It was during this lunch period on the 4th day or so, I met Z. He knew V through band and thus he joined our group. It was then we discovered we were in class together. From then on, Z would sit behind me so we could talk when we had free time. What neither of us knew is that this conjured Drac. Drac had sat a few rows back, and honestly, I hadn't noticed his existence until I came in the second week to find him sat right beside me. Z walked in soon after me and asked who the guy was. I just shrugged. It was only the second week, people were still trying to figure out where they wanted to sit and whatnot, so I thought nothing of it. When I came to the row, Drac immediately perked up, and actually pulled out my usual chair a bit for me. I smiled, happy at the kind gesture, worst mistake ever, and sat, introducing myself. It went something like this. Me, hi, I'm Em. Drac, nice to finally meet you. I'm Drac. Me, looking a bit puzzled, were you waiting to meet me? Drac, oh, well, I had noticed you first day, but I was too shy to come up here and say anything. Sorry if that's weird. Me, oh, no, it's fine. I can get like that too. Drac, oh, cool, oh haha, so, you like Bleach? He pointed to the manga I had on top of my math book. I just bought a specialty manga with short stories and character files to use for drawing, and just so I own it. I smiled. Me, yeah. Do you? This is when I should have known to back away. Drac, totally, Rainjaku is totally my favorite. For those who don't know, Rainjaku is one of the most voluptuous women in the entire Bleach series. She's mainly recognized for her bigger-than-life breasts, though I like her for her actual personality and romantic arc with another character. Me, oh, yeah. Rainjaku is amazing, my favorite is too. Drac, dude, what a man wouldn't give to have a bitch like that. I was a bit stunned for a minute. My very virgin ears had not heard something like that before, so I wasn't sure how to respond. Luckily, Z had been sitting behind me the entire time, and picked up the conversation to allow me to compose myself. Z, I'm personally an Uki2K fan if I say so myself. Guy is so calm, but so powerful. Drac rolled his eyes, and sighed as if he was about to teach a child a very important lesson. Drac, Uki2K? That guy is ill and doesn't do anything for anyone. Rainjaku on the other hand gives you pleasure in more ways than one. Now, Z was 16 and, like most, had a very sexual humor. However, he wouldn't go far around me, being innocent and all, so he immediately tried to change the topic. Drac however persisted, and my virgin ears were horribly scarred as Drac delved into his strange sexual attraction to this character I honestly liked. Z just watched the train crash after trying for a few more minutes, mesmerized by Drac's intensely detailed recounts of different lemon fanfiction narratives and dives into the darker places of deviant art. My sanity was only saved because the lunch period started. While Drac was busy getting his stuff to eat, Z and I basically ran for the door. We waited until we got down the second corner before we both just started imploding. Z asked if I was okay, and my awkwardness was soon replaced with happiness as Z gave me his jacket to wear so that Drac wouldn't immediately notice me from the back. We soon got to the table, and V was confused, and asked why I was wearing Z's jacket. Z thankfully gave V the rundown for me, and as if we were on a sitcom, V gestured to behind us. V, that guy? Z turned, only to immediately turn back. I began to ask him but his face said to stay quiet. It wasn't a moment later, Drac walked by, lunch in hand as he scanned the tables, probably looking for us. I just shrank in the chair, hoping that he wouldn't turn around and see me. V just seemed entertained. Now, one thing about V, she's evil. For some reason, she gets a sick satisfaction of seeing me squirm for a little while, even today. Of course, we do it to each other, but this day, I could see I was about to meet my end. V abruptly made a noise, loud enough that Drac turned. It was then his face lit up as he made the connection who I was. He head over as I mouthed a fuck you to V. V smiled like a villain, for a moment that is. I guess V just expected Drac to awkwardly flirt with me for a minute then walk half. Nope. Drac sat down beside V with a thud, and once he was settled, his expression became a bit confused as he saw I was wearing the pleather jacket now. It only took him a moment to connect the dots, and he looked at Z, a bit angry as he started going through his sack lunch. Drac, so, why is M wearing your jacket, Z? Z, ooh, she said she was cold, so I lent it to her. Drac, is that so? Drac looked at me, giving me an apologetic look. Drac, I'm sorry M, men sometimes can impede too much. I just blinked. V just stared at him before she just blurted. V, how is lending a jacket impeding? Drac, gesturing to me, look at her. Obviously his actions have made her uncomfortable. Not to mention he was actually trying to claim property. Z was speechless, as was I. You hear about guys that talk like this but you never expect to actually hear it, much less at 14 in the cafeteria. V decided to debate him for a moment. V, oh, so women are property? Drac, it depends. Some guys want to be the property, but that's a very small percent. Women generally give in when a man has money, status. It's just how it works. V, so where does that come in with the jacket? Drac, he put it on her, thus signifying his intent to court her, if not seduce. My face is red, from embarrassment and a tinge of anger at his property comments. It's at this point, Z has enough. Z, dude, I was just being nice. What the hell is wrong with you? Drac, wrong with me? You're claiming taken property. Z, taken property? No one has taken anything. Drac, I staked my claim, asshole. The seat should have told you that. It was then we all realized what he meant. He'd claimed me as his property by sitting next to me in math. Z apparently had violated Drac's claim by giving me a jacket. Z just held up his hands, gesturing to 5 and 1 to go. Before we could get up, Drac leaned over and grabbed the sleeve of the jacket. He pulled and promptly thrusted me over the table about halfway. I shouted in surprise, catching the attention of the tables around us. V was angry now. V, what the hell? Let go of her. Drac, this jacket needs to be removed. Z, stop. I was doing everything not to cry as Z pulled me back, breaking Drac's grip on me and quickly guiding me out of the cafeteria with V close behind. Drac, from what I know, didn't follow us, but I cried a bit as Z reassured me that nothing that happened was my fault, and V apologized for not realizing how crazy the guy was just by looking at him. You'd think that was it of Drac. But no. This was only the beginning, leading to the creepiest request I've ever gotten. But I'll save that for another post. This is already pretty long. Stay toasty. Edit. I've added more parts and just realized I've not linked them. Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, Finale.
WTF is this bizarre trend of using male and female instead of men and women? By sipsredpepper. Why do people insist on referring to each other as males and females instead of men and women? What is the logic for this? Edit. Wow, you guys are patient. I posted via mobile and misclicked here instead of r/no stupid questions, and then immediately went to work where I haven't had time to check my phone. No wonder some of these answers were strange. I didn't notice all day. Sorry.
The Tale of Chinbeard, Terrorizer of Friends and Lover of Freshman Girls by blyatattack. So, a short disclaimer before I start. First of all, thank you for checking out this story. Second of all, English may be my first language, but I'm not that good at writing. Sorry if this isn't too terribly interesting. Enjoy. Smile. When I first met Chin, I was a freshman doing PT with Bear. Bear was a friend I made in ROTC,
She's short but strong with arms like logs and a heart like gold. We were lifting those little hand weights together and talking when he approached us. A new scent invaded our noses, and it was somehow worse than the stale scent of socks and sweat that the weight room already reeked of. This one smelled like BO and milk. There he was, in all of his glory, Chinbeard. The name was picked for ironic reasons, as he had a scruffy underbite and a scrawny body, with red hair and big yellow teeth. He was adorned with only the classiest of active gear. Which is to say, an anime shirt and jeans. I took one look at this guy and two conflicting thoughts came into play. One said, this guy is a total neckbeard. I was aware of the term back then, while the other said, don't judge people based on their appearance. He could be super nice and you'd never know. My dumb friendly ass went for the latter. I give him a welcoming smile and he went over to talk to us. We instantly engaged in conversation. He actually seemed pretty normal. One thing I noticed was that he liked to monopolize the conversation and was very tone-deaf, and his already loud voice was even louder in our small weight room. That kinda rubbed me the wrong way, I guess, but I thought nothing of it. Then, he asked us if we watched anime. Bear said no. I, stupidly, said yes. The shreds of normalcy he possessed were shoved aside as he blabbered on about anime. I'll confess, I do watch anime and I am a degenerate too, I just don't watch the stuff this guy watches. His taste was a mix between shonen, harem, and possibly hentai, which he didn't directly state, but goddammit, when you just casually state that you watch Monster Musume in a conversation, I know the shit you get up to. He gave me a few recommendations which I begrudgingly took. Come to find out it was the same kind of pervy slice of life anime he watched. He was in ROTC as well, so he talked to us every opportunity he got. We're separated by grade but have the same schedule, so when we went to the gym for PT, so did he. Chin never wore his uniform on uniform days or active gear on PT days. Despite my discomfort, I tolerated his existence, so he tolerated ours in return. He favored Bear over me because I didn't really like him. I didn't fit his criteria, either. He liked short girls. I was freakishly tall. Soon enough he asked Bear out. I found this shady for a few reasons, one of them being that he lied about his age. He said he was 14 but was in the colonel's class, which was primarily juniors and seniors. I found out through other means that he was 17, turning 18. Has also kinda rude. He always got an attitude with us if we didn't agree with him. I tried warning Bear in advance that this wasn't a good idea, but she really wanted to make this work and ignored my caution. I love Bear, bless her heart, but she feels the need to constantly be in a relationship and it has gotten her in trouble more than once. Needless to say, it didn't work out, and Chin's true colors began to show. He was incredibly possessive and manipulative. He also constantly posted these low-resolution kinda lewd anime pictures on his Instagram and would tag her in them with a heart eyes emoji or something stupid like that. She eventually got sick of his behavior, but when she tried to break up with him, he'd say this lame melodramatic shit like "you're my everything. I need you," and threatened to kill himself. On top of that, he also sent her these pics of sad anime boys in the rain with their eyes doing the shaded over thingy. He was pathetic. Eventually, after prodding from both me and a few other friends, she broke up with him. We pointedly avoided Chin for the rest of the year in ROTC, but that didn't stop him from trying to talk to me between classes in a vain attempt to convince me to talk her into liking him. This was not the last interaction my misfit group of friends and I had with him, however. If you guys are interested, then I'd love to post a second part. 3.
18-year-old Neckbeard tried asking me out by dontmindmeimsmoll. PPL in this story, me, the Neckbeard, well call him C, his friend, well call him L, my friend, we're naming him R. So to understand, I met this guy in middle school when I was in grade 7, him in grade 8. We became friends, and PPL thought we were dating since we were always close. We didn't think much of it, but he did say he was dating this girl who lived in the city. We lived in a small town at the time. During that summer, my family and I moved to the city and I forgot all about C. Enters sophomore year in high school, and Hess suddenly at my school. He still wears the same clothes, he still sounds the same, and is still in the same stuff he was into. He was heavily into anime, gaming, comics, and homophobic. He doesn't remember me, but turns out he dated one of my ex-best friends. Throughout the year I forgot about him or tried my best to avoid him. He was in my brother's homeroom, and would ask questions about me, like if I was single, if I liked anyone, if I was into anime, etc. My brother ignored him, knowing I didn't like him at all. I avoid him for a good amount of time until Hess in my cooking class. I panicked BC he was supposed to graduate since he was a year older than me. I avoid C like he has the plague, and that's when his fiend, L, starts talking to me. L keeps asking me if I'm dating anyone, if I watch anime or read comics, and even asks about my ethnicity since they are both into Asian girls. I'm Asian, they both knew that, but they kept asking if I was specifically Japanese or Korean, which I am not. L even goes the extra mile to even try hold my hand in class and sidle up real close to me so our arms would touch. I would literally tell him to leave me alone, and he still wouldn't listen. My friend, I would notice that I'm uncomfortable around them and would tell them to leave me alone, and would even physically step in when they would try and touch me. I stayed close to her every possible chance I got. I thought that was the end of it. Until I noticed that L and C literally walk the same routes as me in the halls going to classes and stare at me like I killed their whole family. They used to walk in different directions than me, but once they found out where my locker was, they made note of where it was in the building, and followed from there. I told them to stop, and even told my homeroom teacher about it, but the principal did not believe that they were stalking me. First semester come to an end, and I think it's the end of it. Nope. Second semester comes around and they are both in my art class. They would sit at the same table as me and would stare intensely at me. C even pulled me aside and asked if I was doing anything on the weekend, and if I wasn't he suggested I should go over to his place. Word for word he said, "I live alone in one of the apartment buildings near the school, you should come over sometime and see my cat." I told him no, and their next few days were like that. I had enough and moved tables, which was hard since that class was packed and every single table was full. They changed sitting positions so that they can stare at me. I have had enough. Once L gave me a suggestive look and told him to fuck off in the middle of class. Since then, they haven't talked to me, but still they walked by my locker and would stare at me.
Stalked by a neckbeard by deleted. Oh, what fun it is to be harassed for an entire year of college. Here's some background. Me, 19 to 20 years old female, hard of hearing, second year of college as a game design and development major. Steven, named after the cartoon, Steven Universe, same year, also hard of hearing, new media student. Now I had my first interaction with Steven in my first year. And it wasn't a pleasant one. I was in the cafeteria getting something to eat when he approached me and mentioned how he recognized me from a class. I was friendly and talked to him for a few minutes, until he asked, "What's your level in Overwatch?" Now I started playing Overwatch on my PS4, but that just didn't work out due to server issues and connection problems. So I bought the game for PC instead, meaning I lost hours of game time. So I was only level 12 or so when he asked me this, and I told him honestly. The guy pointed at me and started laughing mockingly. So I left, more than a little annoyed with that kind of immature behavior. I forget all about Steven for the rest of the year. I was adjusting to my life as a college student and discovering who my real friends were going to be. It was a pretty good year overall despite some rough patches, as we all experience in college. Second year comes around and I'm ready to face the pain that lies ahead of me. Little did I know I was destined for more than academic pain. Steven turned out to be in my math class that semester, and 8 a.m. 3 times a week. I'm happily a morning person. I personally liked the class a lot and made a new friend in it, another girl in my major. Now Steven started off normal and friendly. We even shared some common interests since I'm a geek. However, things soon took a bad turn. I was reading one morning, sound off, when Steven came in. I was distracted in my own happy little world, until some idiot came way too close and started clapping obnoxiously in my better ear. I am easily angry, especially when someone invades my personal space, as I am very sensitive about it. This is very important to note. I do not like people invading my space or touching me without express consent. And Steven and I were not friends, so it was even worse. I jumped a little and glared at Steven, who found it funny. I practically hissed at him, warning him not to do that again. He backed off and took his seat. Then one day I was listening to Gorillaz through my headphones, loudly since I'm hard of hearing. Steven came in and apparently liked the song, because his face was suddenly a millimeter from mine as he pressed his ear against my headphone. I freaked out. Badly. I yelled at him never to come into my personal space, angry and scared. I was shaking pretty badly. From there on out, I wanted nothing to do with Steven. Yes, this may seem extreme, but I have little patience with people I barely know doing stuff like that to me. I was never mean, I just didn't interact with him. However, Steven was not happy with my decision. He walked in one morning and sat down in the row next to mine, with an aisle between us. He waved to me and I just ignored him. He spent the next 10 minutes waving on and on, until finally someone else came into the room. Annoying and stupid, but no big deal. But then he came in one morning and just stood at his desk, staring down at me as I played on my phone and did my best to ignore him. This was creepy as hell and I was starting to get scared. He only stopped, once again, when someone else came in. This kind of behavior continued until I just stopped showing up for class early. I didn't want to be alone in the room with him since I just had a feeling something bad might happen. When he realized this, he took a new route to get me alone. I would sometimes talk to my friend outside of class, and one day Steven walked out of the classroom and stood there, staring at us. Scared, I asked my friend if she wanted to come with me to the library. The moment I said that, he left. He wanted me alone. And that scared me shitless. He started doing annoying things to get my attention in class, like humming and talking aloud or making noises. I always ignored him, but it did grate my nerves. I showed up early again one day because I was tired of showing up on the dot and having to rush to get my notes out since the teacher started the moment he arrived. I was playing Fire Emblem Heroes on my iPad Pro. Note that this has quad speakers, sound turned on low volume, when Steven came in. He started staring and humming/talking to himself. So, as a proper lady, I cranked the volume up to 100% so the game blared. He did not like this. He demanded I turn the volume down and I said only when you shut up. He left me alone after that, thank goodness. Then comes another day towards the end of the semester when I was just listening to my music. Steven did not like I had a tactic to ignore his noises. So he started slamming his hand on my desk several times to get my attention. I was getting scared and he was way too close to me for my comfort. I only put one piece of my headphone and simply said what? He said my music was too loud and that I needed to either turn it way down or off. I snapped. Don't talk to me, don't come near me, don't bother me, don't even look at me again. Got it? Then I put my headphone back on and he left me alone for the time being. But it doesn't end here, dear reader. Oh, no. Steven, on several occasions, tried to find out where I lived. One time I was getting dinner and walking back to dorm when I noticed him following me, making sure to stay behind me. So I stopped and pulled out my phone to let him pass. He stared at me for a few minutes, but was forced to move along by the presence of other people. He tried again when I was getting into the stairwell of my dorm building. Now my school's dorms has both elevators and stairs, but since I lived on the 3rd floor I usually took the stairs. Steven was going in through the main lobby doors down a ways as I keyed into the stairwell doors. He saw me and sprinted over. I ignored him, despite the fact he was barely an inch behind me. I then pulled aside and got out my phone to let him pass, as I did last time. So Steven retaliated by climbing up a few steps, then staring down at me. He was waiting for me. I quickly left the staircase and went outside. The semester finally ended and second semester rolls around. Yay! No more Steven. Haha, if only it ended there. He was in another class with me, a much bigger class this time, one where I had a good number of friends in it who always stick around. Of course he stared, but he sat far away so it wasn't a big deal. A few times he walked down the aisle closest to my seat instead of the one closest to his. He was practically on the other side of the auditorium, just to be annoying, but I had my friends. It really did take away any of his creepy power over me. However, there was the final straw that broke the camel's back. I was going to be late for another class and it's a big campus, so I had to run. So I left the class, alone and running. Steven had decided his time has come and chased after me. When I stopped for a quick breather, he jumped over a snowbank and stopped in front of me. Yes, he made sure I knew he was following me and was going to find out where I was going. I took off running again, this time out of blind panic and fear as I called him a creepy $B. I told some of my friends, nearly in tears, when another friend of mine confirmed that he had done the same thing to her and another friend. My parents were in near panic when I told them about the incident, and that night I reported him to campus security for stalking. It came down to an investigation and a mutual restraining order in which neither of us were allowed to interact with the other. It was a blessing from heaven itself. If you've managed to read through all of this, I'm impressed. I hope my suffering from a Neckbeard stalker was worthy of your time and entertained you thoroughly.
Sir Sam the Chivalrous tries to Christmas, or why I'm no longer surprised by anything, by Lady_Saber. This will be the 5th installment of Chivalrous Sam. Trigger warning, pastor with extra cringe. Player 1 is me, Lady Saber, 16 years old, foreign exchange student. I've just finished most of my midterms, barely, with Sam's help. By help I mean keeping me up at all hours of the night with creepy messages. Also, I'm looking forward to a week off for Christmas and experiencing the holiday American style. Player 2 is Sir Sam Smooth Cheeks, the pure and gentle knight. Smells like a vile mix of fermenting sweat and the spaghetti of Satan. Hess also fat, Terry's no way to sugarcoat it without that being eaten too. Wears a plaid trilby, different one almost every time I see him, still no idea how many he has, whitewashed jeans, rage faces t-shirt under an nondescript black hoodie, carrying a snowbank of druff on each shoulder. Also, despite his girth, he has a squeal of a voice that is almost indistinguishable from a piglet. Player 3 is John, guy I'm crushing on who's in a few of my classes. Wears jeans, t-shirt, American Eagle hoodie, and a leather belt with an oversized shiny buckle. He and Sam have had a few minor run-ins, and they don't like each other one bit. Watching them face off is usually cartoonish. He also speaks passable French. This story begins Friday morning, the last day of exam week before Christmas break. It's exam makeup day, so a lot of people aren't there, but after the 2-hour morning exam session the rest of the day is just Christmas parties and Secret Santa. John is my Secret Santa in English class, by luck of the draw. It's mostly a bunch of inside joke stuff. I think a do-rag and a bottle of Elmo shampoo was included, including a little thing of eyeshadow and blush, just for Sam. Interestingly, though, the colors actually match for me. Don't know how long he must have spent trying to pick them out, but it's really sweet. On lunchtime, I get a new text from Sam. Got a present for you, smile, let me know when I can give it. Oh boy, I can't wait. What is it, Sam? I can't tell you, it'd spoil the surprise. I'm pretty sure surprise will spoil the surprise too. I can't give it to you in school, though, maybe after. So you're giving me something that you aren't allowed to carry on school grounds. Great. If you aren't allowed to have it at school, I don't think it's something I want, Sam. No, trust me, you'll like it. Let me guess, it's also 10 inches. We go and like this for a little while before I give up and ignore his subsequent teaser messages like bet you can't wait to have it in your hands and my personal favorite it's slan and stiff smile haha JK just as subtle as a sledgehammer. My mind is spinning for the rest of the day, running through lists of the passable gift. Is it a sex toy? A 5-gallon drum of meat sauce? Maybe a blade of Valyrian steel? All are equally plausible. Fast forward to the end of the day. I'm filing to the bus loop with the rest of the school, when I'm intercepted by Sam like an offensive pass from Tony Romo. Hey Lady Saber. Merry Christmas. You look enchanting today. Thanks Sam, you too. Doe. I meant Merry Christmas to you too. That's what I get for not thinking. Hess carrying a LAN tube in one hand wrapped haphazardly in Christmas paper, like Santa's homeless cousin. A blue bow is dangling from the side. It makes a adorable picture. In the other hand, a forlorn hot dog is at the mercy of the black hole which functions as his mouth. Mustard, ketchup, and chili dribble while the meat stick vanishes at an alarming pace. I got you a present Lady Saber. Hot dog goes in, chunks come out. You can't explain that. I see, are you going to tell me what it is? I can't do that, it's a present. Hess squeaking with delight, I assume he makes the same noise when Mom brings home a can of SpaghettiOs. Sam, if I'm not supposed to have it at school, I really don't want to open it here. We're at the bus loop now, I'm anxious to find mine and bug out. Sam presses on uninhibited, thrusting the package into my arms like it's a squealing baby, ironic, given the circumstances, for my lady. It's some kind of hollow tube. Something, definitely LAN and stiff, bump sound inside it when I give it a rattle. Sam looks like Hess about to jump out of his skin. This is embarrassing, people are looking, Sam is in his own little world with m'lady. I'm not tearing all of the paper off, so I just poke a hole in the end. I can't see inside. It's dark. I'm scared. I imagine the scene from Indiana Jones where all the faces melt off, and I feel like I might be facing a similar fate. I grit my teeth and reach in. My fingers find metal, and then something like soft leather. The shape is very familiar. I grasp, and pull. No way. I draw out the bell-guardant first 6 inches of a saber. On the pommel is the brand Folion Paul, which is Cadillac-level fencing gear, especially custom-made weapons. This one feels exceptionally lightweight. I'm totally floored. The amount of research to figure out exactly what was good in a weapon you don't fence with must have taken an enormous amount of time, and one of their weapons can easily cost over £100 British. I can actually give him a genuine smile. Thank you, Sam. This is fabulous. It's clear that he wants to stay and talk, but I have to find my buzz. I double dodge his attempt at a hug and narrowly escape with a fist bump. If only it was that easy. My bus has changed today, and I missed the announcement at the end of class. I walk up and down the loop, looking for the bus number, and failing to find it. They start pulling away, one by one, and I realize too late that Terry spin a change. I try to give my host brother a call, but he doesn't pick up. Eventually, I'm stranded at the loop with a few stragglers. Sam has wandered off, like a lion that missed the first rush at his prey. I know that John carpools with his dad, so I message him, asking if my dumbass can get a ride home. I head up to the parking lot where the parents are pulling through, and meet up with him. What's in the tube? Sam's present. He pulled out all the stops on a new saber. I draw out a little bit of it to show him. Damn, really? That must be expensive. We have a lot of time to sit around before John's dad shows up, so we perch ourselves on the brick wall next to the sidewalk. I'm pretty sure I wear my do-rag for a portion of this time. Yay, I'm cool. Soon enough, Sam approaches like a tornado to a trailer park, hailing me with that full arm wave. John and I are sitting, so Sam takes a moment to revel in his ability to tower over us. Hess still eating. This time, it's a Tupperware container full of ravioli. Jesus, does it end? Hey Lady Saber. Why are you up here? I thought you rode the bus. I missed my bus. It changed. Oh, that sucks. Hey, I know, I can give you a ride home. My mom will be here any second. That's okay, Sam. John is giving me a ride. Sam gives John a sidelong glance that lasts a little too long. I can tell John has his jimmies rustled, so I diffuse the situation by asking John to find out where his dad is, which keeps him busy for long enough to cool down. My mom will be here soon, Lady Saber. We've got space in our car, it's no big deal. That's okay, Sam. I'm riding with John. Lady Saber, I don't have to offer you a ride. Hey, I bet John is just doing it to get some alone time with you. Yay, 'cause having your parents in the front seat makes a perfect makeout environment. He says this like it's a joke, but Hess the only one forcing laughter. John has had enough, and rises to his full height, looking down his nose at Sam. She told you no, twice. Back off, Sam. They both inflate like puffer fish, and I might have laughed if I wasn't so afraid of them tearing into each other. Thankfully, this only lasts for a tense 30 seconds, before Sam's ride pulls up. He makes no move to leave, until his mom rolls down the window and starts hollering Sam. Sam. He turns his agitation onto his mom. What? What do you mean, what? Get in the car, Sam. I'm busy, Mom. What on earth with? Sam, we have to go. Lady Saber won't come with. She needs a ride home. Well, it's not going to be with you, apparently. Sam deflates like Hess has gastric bypass. A bunch of other people in the carpool line are staring. He shoulders his book bag, and carries his still open pasta bowl into the back seat of his car. Mrs. Sam gives me a look before pulling away. Naturally, Sam manages to screw this up further. As soon as I'm in the car with John, he starts texting me. Hey, I'm glad you like your present. Told you you would. What did John get you? All aboard the cringe train. He was my secret Santa in English. He just got me some funny stuff that we like to joke about. Oh, okay, but not like a real gift or anything? I decide to have a little fun. John is sitting next to me, so he's reading too, and eggs me on. He got me some makeup. And like a drunken streaker at a football game, Sam's off. Seriously? He got you makeup? That's like the worst thing you could ever get a girl, like Hess just telling you you're not actually pretty enough for me, so put this on. Why do you even put up with someone who clearly has no respect for you? It's really sad that girls get taken in by guys who don't deserve them at all. Choo choo. This continues for what might have constituted a 5-paragraph essay on why I'm the bitchiest bitch that ever bitched, gaining speed and losing altitude with each subsequent message. John and I are killing ourselves laughing. Finally, Sam finishes, and Teresa paws like Hess not quite sure what to do. I don't reply, until he follows with anyway, what's up? That makes me lose it. Sam, I'm going to involve myself with other people. You might not like some of them, but who I associate with is not any of your business. If you can't deal with that, then you don't need to talk to me anymore. He doesn't reply for a while. I'm at home when he responds with fine. But if you're going to be that way, I want that saber back. Keeping it classy like a true gentleman. M'lady is unmoved. Sir Sam keeps his distance over the Christmas break, instead opting to post ambiguously about me on Facebook. The first post is something along the lines of breakups are hard. I wish I was kidding. The Facebook collection will follow this story, but it will take a little while to collect the screen caps. I promise, though, it's worth the wait.
I dated a Neckbeardish guy and it was horrible. By therealsealwizard. This is actually my first post, so I apologize for the format lamau. I'm a very socially awkward, autistic, high on the spectrum, overweight 18-year-old girl. So normally, it's always been hard to get a date. I've dated 2 people, both long distance and online. I've been taking a break from dating for a while because of my last ex. Let's call him Orrington, his online name at the time. Don't know if Hesh changed it, don't want to check. At the time, I was 16 years old and went through a rough breakup with my ex-girlfriend, let's call her Charlotte. It was around February 2017 and I had posted some stuff on LGBT dating accounts on Insta because I wasn't allowed to go on actual dating sites, nor did I want to. One day while I was in choir class, I received a DM from Orrington asking how my day was. He was also 16 so I felt comfortable messaging him. I immediately looked at his picture and he didn't really look like a neckbeard. Sure, he had the long hair and facial hair and was a little chubby, but I didn't mind at all. I messaged back and we became friends quickly. I found out he lived in the same state I did, just 45 minutes away. So I was super happy. 2 weeks later, he asks to be my boyfriend. My desperate ass says yes and the beginning of the relationship was great. He was super sweet and romantic, despite his botched up grammar. Then around a week into it, things felt weird. At the time, I was going through a serious bump in the road. I was sexually assaulted 2 years before this and sentencing was going on for the guy who did it. It was a long process and I was terrified of testifying. I confided in Orrington and told him about this. He got angry and said he would murder the man who did it if he ever came to where he lived. It didn't help at all. He then proceeded to tell me that our first time will be great, which made things even worse. One day, we were talking about exes and I started talking about Charlotte. At one point, he got quiet. He then told me he was going to kill himself because something I said about Charlotte made him feel inferior. I take suicide very seriously and I started crying. I was at rehearsal for a school musical and my choir teacher recommended I go outside and try to sort things out. Orrington kept sending images of nooses and edgy quotes about suicide and I was panicking. Later that day, he told me he was fine. I was super upset and we proceeded to argue. Nothing huge happened. Yet, while at rehearsals again, I told Orrington that I was having an anxiety attack because I was thinking about the guy who sexually assaulted me. Orrington then thought it would be a good idea to send me a picture of the guy with a joke poem about him raping me. I was livid. We started to fight and he called me a fat bitch. The next day, I texted him telling him I was breaking up with him. He begged me to stay but I was done. He then wrote this huge essay on how he wanted to marry me and start a family but I was a selfish bitch who didn't care. I cried in the dressing room and my friends comforted me. We stayed in contact on and off because I felt bad for making him upset. We almost got back together a year later until I found out he lied about being single and was dating 2 people who were both 2 years younger than me. When they confronted him, he denied that he knew who I was. I have cut off all contact with him since then. Here's a list of other things Hess said/did to me. You're too fat. You're an ugly cunt. If we were back together I'd treat you right. I was cheating on you with 13 other girls. My GF is pregnant and am the father. I sent them my sperm sample. I quickly found out that was a lie to make me jealous. You were raped for a reason. He claims he meant everything happens for a reason. I'd love a threesome with you and a black girl. We weren't dating at the time he said this. He said the N-word a lot. Hess Hispanic. He constantly talked about the guy who sexually assaulted me. He tried to relate to me being sexually assaulted because one of his girlfriends was raped. Would send me inappropriate pics of me that I asked him to delete. Refused to delete those pictures. Cried in class when I confronted him about the 2 people he was dating. Told me he still masturbated to me. Commented on a post saying we were FWB, he tagged me too. Said he wanted to marry me. Said if I ever got pregnant with his kid and I aborted it that he would travel somewhere else to deal with the pain he'd have to go through. If you ever get a message from a 17 to 18-year-old Hispanic guy who has the online name Orrington, fucking run and don't look back. I repeat, fucking RUN. TL, doctor, guy dates me, makes joke about my sexual assault and is overall a horrible person.
Keith's Poo, a website by chronic_insomnia. Alright guys. I threw up in my mouth a little writing this, but you guys wanted to know. So Keith's website had a few different sections. Tips and tricks, feminine mystique, the alpha male mindset, company blog and success stories. So first thing I clicked was tips and tricks. Here's an example. Tip of the day. Getting in her face and taking control is the only way to show you're strong enough to protect her. Tell her, don't ask her out and she'll be putty in your hands. Below that was a stock photo of like James Dean, I think. Keith's wardrobe suggestions. Women need sophisticated men in their lives. They know they do, they just don't want to admit. You don't need six-pack abs if you have a smoking jacket, and the panache to back it up. Those were two of the less crazy ones. Moving on to the feminine mystique shudder. He uses this page as an opportunity to rant for way too many paragraphs about how society has changed female perspective. He talks about the pre-Civil War South as like a golden era for civility and when the gentleman would get the girl. The alpha male mindset was more of the same. He rants for a while about sports and how pointless they are, and then rants even more about how women will only date douchebags, and to be an alpha male you have to be a massive douche to girls all the time. That way when you're nice to them it comes as a surprise. This was hilarious because he absolutely does this, not do that to me. Like at all. The company blog was a single post about how he's looking for open spaces to hold a seminar, followed by a dozen posts of him talking about different women. I found the one about me, by the way. What do I say about Lena? Not my real name, BTW. He used fake names for the girl's protection. She's a wily one. You've also got your classic alpha male old world caveman roadblock to get through. Fear not though, dear readers, nothing stops me once I set my mind on someone. She's going to be my greatest challenge yet. I just need to show her I'm going to be there for her more than this. Oof. A friend of hers died at some point, and for those of you taking notes, it is a perfect way in. Establish yourself as a caregiver and give her a shoulder to cry on. She'll be all over you after that. It's only a matter of time. That's all for now, folks. It only gets creepier from there. I'm going to go shower and scrub all of my skin off. Thanks for reading.
First Neckbeard encounter at a convention. Cosplay does not equal consent. By zombiepacifier. Hey all. I decided to post this after listening to a Tim Tam Tom video on the subject. Not sure how good this fits in, but I hope you enjoy. TL, Dr. 20-plus-year-old Neckbeard asks to take a picture with me, a minor, and puts a finder doon my waistband. Obligatory on mobile. Obligatory happened a while ago. So, I went to this convention where you would walk around and cosplay. A lot of anime costumes. I don't watch it myself, so I didn't really know any of them, but some from shows/movies/games as well. And B, Neckbeard looked somewhere around late to mid-20s. Ozzy, my boyfriend at the time, he still is, 17. Me/K, I wonder, 16. So, me and Ozzy were wearing matching cosplay outfits. We were characters from Fanboy and Chum Chum. I know, don't kill me, I was Sigmund and Ozzy was Kyle, since out personalities aligned with them and they were our favorites. The cape Ozzy wore for his cosplay was pretty blonde, so I walked behind and held it off the floor for him, since it was black and the ground was dusty and dirty. We were chatting idly until a faint smell came to our noses. Me, ugh. Do you smell that? Ozzy, hell yeah. What? Of course my shoulder was grabbed. I have very bad problems with people touching me because of a situation that happened a few months ago. My ex-BFF had touched me inappropriately, so I yelped quite loudly and fell back into Ozzy. He caught me and shushed me quietly as I looked up at who had touched me. And B. Now, he was very cliché. He was dressed as Sans from Undertale, crudely painted on white face paint that stuck to the hairs of his neckbeard,
greasy black hair that poked out from a white beanie, and he was very large. He smelt like a piece of shit sautéed with vinegar and left out in the sun. NB, excuse me, milady, I couldn't help but notice your costume. I love that show. I used to watch it all the time. Me, oh. Thanks, but I'm not a girl. When said this, I retreated further into my boyfriend's arms. I was usually more confident and 100% up to calling people out on their shit, like touching me when they weren't supposed to, but after what had happened I had become much more vulnerable, I guess. NB, oh. I'm terribly sorry. Are you two doing a ship cosplay? Ozzy, no. The characters are children, we don't ship them. We're dating. NB, ooh, said in a mocking tone, you're dating. Okay. Would the infamous Sigmund the Sorcerer be willing to take a picture with me? He said this with a horrible German accent. I decided to one-up him with my own. Me, in an actually good German accent, give me one reason why. You touched me without permission. I know I was being kind of rude, but he unnerved me and the smell of his body odor made me sick. I eventually took a picture with him, and Ozzy went to hold his phone. NB's hand came to rest really close to my butt, something I didn't like at all. His hand had went behind my overcoat to be that much closer. Ozzy seemed to note my uncomfortableness, because he frowned at me. Ozzy, K, you look pale, do you need to sit down? Me, I'm okay, just take the picture. I could feel nausea filling in my stomach and I began to shake as I felt the NB's hand slip down farther, pulling me closer into his sweat-filled body. The last straw, however, was when his pinky slipped under the waistband of my pants. I shoved him away harshly and he fell to the floor, and I went running back into Ozzy's arms where I began to cry. NB, what the hell, man? I just wanted a picture. Me, I'm 16. I was yelling at this point, and people had started to stare. You had no right to put your hands like that. You look like you're 20. I'm a child, man. You cannot lay your hands on my like that. Ozzy pulled me closer at the words and I hugged him tighter. A security guard started to approach and NB groaned, grabbed his phone, and waddled off. Ozzy sat me down as he went to talk to the security guard, and we left soon after. I know what happened to NB, but I hope I never see him again. Sorry if it doesn't fit here. Sorry for spelling mistake, it's 2:40 AM haha.
My encounter with GoatBeard, the first encounter by the Zodiacs 3R0. Hello everyone. So I've been reading a lot of these stories lately and it reminded me of a few stories I have with the man I shall refer to as GoatBeard, or GB for short. Also, apologies in advance as I'm writing this story on my phone. The cast. The Zodiacs 3R0, me, about 19 at the time, Latino, pretty normal and pretty laid back. Longhorn, my college roommate, one of the chilliest guys you will ever meet. GoatBeard, the guy who would soon become one of the biggest pains of my college years. So to start off, I first met GB when I was in my junior year of college. I attended community college beforehand and this was my first time being on a campus. Like me, GB was also a transfer student who lived in the same dorm hall as me, except he is a year behind me, to be explained later. He didn't own a fedora, as far as I know, but he did have a sorry excuse of a beard and some kind of attempted goatee, hence the name. He was far shorter than me and had a gut. Now, I first meet GB during my first week of college. I should also note that since we were transfer students, we had to attend many of the orientation events as first-year college students, including a little social event designed for us to meet our A's and fellow hall mates. As we are being told the rules of our hall, I'm making little remarks about some of the more stupid rules along with my roommate, Longhorns. Unbeknownst to the two of us, GB was standing behind and decided to butt in and make a few of his own. I'm pretty laid back and it takes a lot for me to get really pissed off and even more so to completely hate a person, so when GB jumped, I completely fine with it. After the rules were explained to us, all of the students headed off to the dining hall. GB ended up joining Longhorn and myself at our table and began to make small talk with us. That's when I noticed how much this guy talked, but I was a bit of a shy guy and I found it hard to make friends, still do to this day, so I was fine with it. He then started to make some jokes, like super racist jokes about blacks, Latinos and other minorities, and I was a bit shocked. Normally this stuff doesn't bother me, but for him to make these jokes so casually, I wasn't prepared and neither was my roommate. I then told him that it wasn't cool to make these kinds of jokes and that a lot of people could get easily offended, to which he replied that it wasn't his fault because he was from intercity name. 1. That's a pretty cheap excuse in my opinion. 2. I know where he was from because it was only a few hours from where I lived and I had friends there who never acted like this. So this was the first red flag. Once we finished eating, we all headed back to our rooms to chill and pretty much do whatever we wanted for the rest of the evening. Not even 20 minutes later, GB is knocking at our door, asking to hang out. Longbeard and I both agreed to a kind of open door policy in our room as a way to meet the other people on our floor, so we let him in and continued our conversation from downstairs. Almost immediately he starts trying to make jokes again, same as before, and I just stare at him with this "are you serious right now" look on my face. The conversation followed as such. Me, dude, I just told you downstairs that those jokes aren't cool. GB, so what? They're just jokes. Me, because they're racist, which is kinda obvious. GB, that's how it was where I come from. People back home think they're funny. Me, that's still not an excuse here. I'm asking you nicely to cut these kind of jokes out. GB, fine, you're so sensitive, it's only a joke. To his credit, GB did stop the jokes, but that was only a small sample of what was to come. So guys, this was my very first meeting with GB, and I know it's not a super exciting story, but this is just the start, so if you guys would like to hear more, let me know in the comments below and I'll continue my stories of GoatBeard. Also sorry if I got the formatting wrong. I'm usually reading here stories and I wasn't sure if I should share some of mine.
Thank goodness Neckbeardson informed me. By deleted. I just started a job, and my new neck-bearded co-worker noticed my cross necklace on my first day. I'm too intelligent to believe in a god, that's why they made me assistant manager. Those were his first fucking words to me. Well, I'm not dumb and I have faith. So, I tell him, trying to clear up my workstation, hoping he'll leave. God is a delusion, as are your thoughts about not being dumb, apparently. He gave me the most shit-eating grin ever, and walked away. I took my time becoming a person of faith. I did my research on it, other world religions, evolution and the Big Bang, and made an informed decision to believe in God. That's my business. I told him after my shift that my faith is my business and I'd appreciate it if he wouldn't belittle me in front of customers about my beliefs. His response, "Your false beliefs became my business when you advertise them by flashing that necklace around. I wear a simple, wooden cross on a black cord around my neck, not a fucking rosary. So I reported him to HR, and he's not allowed to bring up my faith at work anymore. And had to take sensitivity training for 2 weeks. He ticks all the neckbeard boxes too, don't worry. Wears a fedora outside of work, has a genuine, certified neckbeard, is overweight to the point of it being unhealthy, watches MLP avidly, and has a Pokemon card collection so big he thinks it matters to anybody, and hits on women all the time for no real reason. If you're reading this, Alex, Jesus loves you. Edit. Sorry, this isn't written better. I only wrote this because he found me on Facebook and won't stop messaging me links to the God Delusion on Amazon and I'm getting pissed off.
Creepy Neckbeard during freshman year asked me out by FlashyCleverUsername. This was before I even knew what a neckbeard was or even discovered Reddit. So back during my freshman year of high school, there was this really creepy neckbeard senior who apparently had a crush on me. We were in somewhat of the same social circle, so of course I was nice to him but tried to keep my distance. He showed up every day in a trench coat and fedora, even in the middle of summer. He had about shoulder-length greasy, curly hair, and always talked about how he was learning Japanese. He was in martial arts, owned katanas, typical Neckbeard stuff. Sadly, that's not the worst part. He also used to brag about sleeping with his sister, who was also in the same social circle and never denied it. So he sends up one of our mutual friends one day to ask me out. I told him I'd rather rip out my own tonsils with a pair of pliers than even consider it. Harsh? Yes. But I was also being stalked at the time by the school psycho, so I wasn't going to add a second psycho to that list. I really don't miss high school.